The Medway Towns is a conurbation of towns and outlying villages situated on the North Kent coast in the southeast of England. With its strategic location and proximity to the River Medway, the area has played a major contribution both on a local and national level through Roman times to the Norman conquest. The area boasts good transport links by road, rail and river, and the establishment of the dockyard that saw a naval presence for more than 400 years. The dockyard today is a very different place, with a collection of former buildings, retail, residential and commercial office space, and educational institutions. The Pump House No. 5 represents a fine example of this bygone era and Victorian engineering. Located in the former dockyard and occupying a prime waterfront location, the former pump house was built circa 1870 and constructed to house the pumping machinery to drain the naval dry docks. An architectural delight, the building is of a solid polychromatic brick construction with a North African influence. Grade 2 listed, the property offers a unique opportunity to the right client wishing to preserve the building's former history, whilst providing a glimpse of the future. An assignment of any sorts will involve some basic components: an objective that will define the intended outcome and project scope, whilst establishing an overall strategy in line with the project's cost, expected quality and time frame to complete. The project before us represents a creative and innovative plan to convert the former Victorian building, boasting immense character and appeal, not to mention its Grade 2 listed status, into a working and functional building of the future. However, as with any project, there will be constraints. What are they, and how might they impact, and perhaps more important, how do we overcome them? Supporting this will be a process, from initial conception to delivery, project direction and organisation, and fundamental to this, essential communication. Allied to all of this will be stakeholder analysis, which will help identify who they are and what is their importance and influence to the project. And as decision makers, we must interpret their requirements whilst matching their needs with a clear programme, allowing an exchange of information. This will keep stakeholders informed and updated at various stages through and up to completion. Stakeholders. Whether it's investors, the project team, local partners or end users, they've all got one thing in common: the successful implementation of a project. However, whilst they might share the same goal, mapping each stakeholder and recognising their individual requirements and integrating them with other users will prove crucial to a project's success. This proposal provides a unique opportunity to a region steeped in industrial history, with a site that is at the very heart of an area that has seen major investment and regeneration. The former pump house provides the perfect venue for a facility that will offer a learning resource and discovery journey, and whether it's your business, your school, or just a day out with the family, this attraction will provide a stimulating experience and educational treat that will leave you yearning for more. So, let's look at the main contenders. Well, the brainchild behind this innovative idea is the Medway Science Centre Partnership, a group of teaching professionals and enthusiasts who are simply nuts about science. Seriously, they are a dedicated team who have recognised the potential of the area, its history and opportunity to deliver a first-class resource accessible to all. The commitment and dedication of the partnership will go a long way to determining the outcome of this project, but they can't do it alone. The client's plans are bold and will require universal support and investment if they are to achieve their goals. This scheme will require capital investment, local authority consent, business support and general public approval. Each one will have an interest, each one will have an agenda, and each one will need to be appraised to establish their needs and importance to the project. As we have previously mentioned, the area with its industrial heritage and good geographical links offers great potential. In more recent years, the area has diversified, attracting financial services, with one leading provider now based in the former dockyard, offering much needed hope and alternative employment to an area of designated deprivation. And it's these conditions, together with the opportunity to provide a unique visitor attraction, which underlines the case for Medway as a potential recipient of public funding, and more precisely, big lottery funding. Big, as they are otherwise known, provide lottery funding to areas specifically identified with a history of economic decline, the closure of the dockyard. Typically, BIG's involvement would see the financing of the initial start-up costs, retaining an interest right up to completion of the scheme. However, BIG is just one possible source of financial support, and we must not ignore the local and indigenous resources, which to this day retain a strong connection to STEM, with its engineering, military and educational institutions. Fundamentally, this group offers the biggest hope and success to this project, with their potential and diversity from a financial and commercial perspective, to real localism and creation of something for the people, provided by the people. It is therefore essential that their support is not only harnessed, but carefully nurtured to maintain interest and support of the project plan. In theory, this should not prove too challenging, as they not only share common interests, but will have a common responsibility and thesis that will reflect the project's aims. So whether it's EON or Scottish and Southern, the local power plants, the Military School of Engineering or the university campus located in Chatham Maritime, with its triad of learning academies, everyone can share, and once complete, the facility will provide a lasting legacy that can provide a permanent resource for both the business and academic community. But not everyone in the community and local business will be supportive. Some may view this as another venture that will attract more visitors and with it noise and congestion. Consider the local residents. And some might think that as a tourist attraction, their business and franchise may suffer. One of these is the local marina, MDL, who occupy a prime position and is effectively the next door neighbour. However, by explaining and communicating your ideas, and something we will touch on shortly, will help address any concerns and mitigate risk. Of course, no matter where you are and what part of the country you live in, there will be local governance. Medway is a unitary authority and as such is responsible for a wide range of services and statutory obligations, and as the local planning authority, Medway will play a huge role in the decision making and future of the pump house from a planning, conservation and economic development perspective. These interests, however, will be balanced between reasonable and acceptable development and the aspirations of a community, whilst meeting their needs in a financial and responsible manner. Refreshingly, and good reason to suspect why Medway Council will have a permanent legacy and interest with this project, can be summed up in their mission statement, that aims to see Medway as a leader and provider of learning, culture, tourism and enterprise by 2026, which simply echoes the partnership's ideology. However, whilst Medway is responsible for the majority of local government functions within its district, the Kent County Council provides the upper tier of local government to the 12 district councils of Kent. A strong advocate for a centre of this kind to be based in the southeast of England, the County Council will play a key role, together with its partner Medway, in linking with neighbouring authorities and partner agencies, and this is further enhanced by KCC representation on the partnership board. The construction and refurbishment of such an important building will require a sympathetic approach, and as we have already mentioned, local authority input. The principal contractor, design and project team will be pivotal from the commencement of the project to handover, with the requirement for building and services maintenance on completion. Such a unique project will also require technical support and expert advice, and to achieve this, an alliance will be forged with a partnership consultancy at Bristol to guide the Kent and Medway Partnership and its associates through and beyond completion. So, we've got funding, we've secured local business support and planning consent, the pump house has been sensitively refurbished and we're ready for business. That can only leave one final stakeholder, but a stakeholder who by their very nature and reaction will determine the project's success. The general public is the last stakeholder in this marriage, and one who could be considered to be the most important member of the family. Their involvement and participation are crucial to any commercial venture, but we're not talking just profit or making ends meet in this case. We're talking long-term interest and continuing and sustained support. By providing a fun-filled, exciting and affordable attraction, this stakeholder will not only secure a scheme's viability, but will hold the key to its perpetuity. Communication. We've talked about the key players and their interests. We've mentioned some of the unique points of the project, and we've briefly touched on how we might collate all of this. We could simply look at the 5 common principles of good management, which are plan, organise, command, direct and control. That broadly speaking, applied to any concept, would stand a reasonable chance of success. However, there is one element that is not only missing from that list, but one we often take for granted. Communication, and the ability to communicate, is not only a skill, it is an essential quality to the success of any project. Poor communication can lead to misunderstanding, conflict and uncertainty, whereas no communication can lead to a serious breakdown of relationship and project failure. And it's because it's such a simple commodity, it's the very reason why we sometimes negate its importance and undervalue its worth. Clear, concise and effective communication allows for each and every project member to understand their role whilst executing their task. So, clearly a vital component to the project plan, but it's not just about communicating, it's also knowing when to communicate and who to. And also the quality of information, and getting this right will only increase a project's chance of success. A typical project will follow a clear programme of execution from strategic analysis and project objectives, outline and detailed design, implementation, to completion and aftercare support. And communication at each and every stage of the programme is crucial. The conception of any project will involve an initial overview, an assessment by the stakeholders, but not necessarily all of them, because at this stage it's just an idea. The brief will also weigh up the commercial rationale, and this preliminary appraisal will continue throughout the process. In effect, this initial exchange constitutes the first steps towards establishing a line of communication, and typical good practice will involve the adoption of a communication plan that stakeholders' expectations can be loaded into, and, having well-documented expectations and clearly defined benefits, will pay dividends when making key decisions and evaluating the project's success. This type of plan is a simple framework that can be updated and amended as needs arise, and similar to this one. Which identifies the report function, intended audience and purpose, frequency and best format, and by defining communication requirements and distribution methods will ensure communication is maintained throughout the life of the project. In addition, there will be planned points in the project to make sure expectations are still valid and being met. A project manager would typically manage the day-to-day operation of a project team, and one of their main tasks will be understanding stakeholders' approach to risk, as this will allow the PM to manage risk that could have a positive or negative impact against the project. They will also need to identify stakeholders' preferred mode and frequency of communication. And in today's world, there are a variety of formats and techniques to get your message across. In some instances, a liaison officer will be appointed to deal with adjoining neighbours, and their role will be to convey information and respond to concerns raised throughout the duration of the build. This not only provides effective communication and updates, but is a clever way of maintaining a good relationship with adjoining neighbours who may or may not have been supportive to the original plan. Depending on the intended audience, the message and its importance will all be factors on how you deliver that communication and frequency of it. For example, you might have a major change and amendment to a key design function. This type of change will require a meeting, perhaps a presentation, to all major stakeholders affected by this change, and it will be recorded and documented for future reference. Conversely, there will be urgent issues that crop up in the life cycle of a project, necessitating an instant response, and these messages for speed of action would initially be delivered verbally, but then backed up to avoid any confusion or dispute. So, following the initial brief advising stakeholders of the business case and outline requirements, the next stage will be concentrating on a method to develop the project objectives and required outcomes. This is a core stage of any project, as there will be a number of exercises to determine not only the project's objective, but it will also consider the financial viability and identify the project's limitations. The project sponsors and financial backers will have a key interest at this stage, and communication to them will need to be managed and kept up to date in a timely and professional manner. Stage 2 starts to become technical, with the design team and specifications playing a major part. It will also draw in end users who will start to assess their building requirements, and communication with this group at this stage is vital to maximise the building's potential and reduce unwanted costs. Stage 3 and 4 will see a drastic enhancement from Stage 2 and a firming up of ideas and design specification, and it's crucial at this stage that cross-party consensus is shared and achieved with all stakeholders prior to Stage 5 and the start of the physical stuff. The construction stage of any project is often deemed as the glamorous part of the project, and when you finally hear those words, at last, we're getting some work done. This stage creates the most activity and with it communication, as previously all those plans and meetings had been merely ideas, thoughts and design. But now it was reality, and those plans are being physically constructed. As we previously mentioned, there will be decisions that will need to be made quickly, requiring verbal agreement and communication. Others will need a little more thought and consultation, but throughout this phase will be regular updates and site meetings to determine the project's progress, problems and any change to the agreed course. Completion and handover will need to be communicated in advance to allow for any conditions or arrangements required by stakeholders to be met. And finally, building use, which will require continuation of stakeholder engagement and communication from support services and maintenance and operational use, culminating in the goal we've all aimed for: open for business. Conclusion. We've assessed the major contestants and recognised that their involvement at various stages is crucial to a project's plan and successful delivery. We've understood that just leaving them to it is a recipe for disaster, and to guarantee any chance of success, we must adopt an all-inclusive approach and project plan that will develop and perfect your communication skills. Stakeholders will have their own priorities, and stakeholders may come and go. But the key to any successful project will be how you collect and share their expectations with the group, providing the right information at the right time and in the right manner. So whether it's a sponsor, local partner, or the paying public.
Identifying your stakeholders and having a clear programme of communication will ultimately deliver a successful project.
Mambo number 5.
Some of the unique points of the project, and we've briefly touched on how we make whilst establishing an overall strategy in line with the project's cost, expected quality, and I've forgotten where I'm going.